2 months to go before Election Day, and most of the attention is on the presidential race and the fight for the Senate, but we can't forget about the House. The top 10 most vulnerable list is one of Roll Call staples. Roll Call's been doing it for years. Tell me, who is climbing up the list and becoming more vulnerable in the last couple of months?
This time we have Florida's David Jolly, who has the honor of being in the number 1 spot. He represents a district that was heavily redistricted, so it became a lot more Democratic. As has been highly publicized, he has a very contentious relationship with the National Republican Congressional Committee. He doesn't have a lot of money. He's pledged not to solicit any donations, and he's for sure not getting any help from establishment Republicans.
If you ask around town, there aren't Republicans that are looking to help him at all.
No.
I mean, he's kind of become a persona non grata.
Yes. Yes.
And it didn't help. And I think we have to remember that he has a competitive race against Charlie Crist, but he spent much of the cycle running for the United States Senate.
Right.
So that's also puts him kind of behind a little bit.
It does. He got in this race rather late. I think he has 1 donation from a fellow member of the delegation, which is pretty crazy when you're an incumbent.
Who else strikes you as someone who's getting more vulnerable?
Yeah, so New Hampshire's Frank Ginta also climbed a spot this month. It's looking increasingly likely that he may win his primary coming up on September 13th. If you remember, he has some financial issues. He took this loan from his parents, which violated FEC rules in excess of what you're allowed to take in terms of contributions. But his primary challenger hasn't really lived up to expectations, so it's likely, perhaps more likely than it was, that Ginta survives the primary, but chances are that he's not going to do so well in a general, especially against a former incumbent, Carol Shea Porter.
And I think part of it was that Donald Trump's numbers are falling in the state. Even Senator Kelly Ayotte, who's up for re-election and considered a strong incumbent, she's struggling, and it's hard to see how Frank Ginta or Rich Ashew are going to run a better campaign than Kelly Ayotte and really be able to stand up to that.
Right.
So tell us, let's look at a couple people who are sliding down the list, who maybe are in slightly better position than they were a couple months ago.
Of course, it's hard to say. 2 months out, a lot could still change, but we do have Nevada's Crescent Hardy sliding down just a teeny bit. This is a state where Trump is actually doing better, relatively, compared to other states, and maybe better than some folks expected him to.
Now, I think with 2 months to go, what's striking is that we have the top 10 most vulnerable. All of them 2 months ago were Republicans. They could all lose. And Democrats really need to win all of them. And more to get the 30 that they need. The caution is that there's still time for a wave to develop in the House, but it's probably going to be another 2 or 3 weeks before we see it.